just give me 1 second here. All right, looks like we got that all set up, and we're back live again. All right. So, what I just showed you with the first bit of this show was the OCS playoffs. If any of you missed that show last week, first off, that was a heck of a time co-hosting that with Queso Sauce and talking about all the different pairings and matchups. Here's the schedule. I'm trying to keep a separate thread for it in the online championship series subforum of the forums. We've obviously got the Werfs and Zlorfik match, which took place last weekend, 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Coming up this week, Thursday, the 25th, 7 p.m., we've got a Rebel Spy versus Chris Kelly. They have said they're going to play both games the same night. So they'll play the first game at 7 o'clock. Whenever that's finished, they'll take a 5 or 10 minute break and then jump in and play game two. We will be streaming that live on Twitch. We're going to try and stream as many, if not all, of these games as possible. Early next week, I think this is next Monday, the 29th, at 2:30, and then if they play game two, it'll be on Tuesday at 3 o'clock. This is Cryptofist versus Mr. Yellow. Cryptofist is another European player, so there's a bit of a time zone difference there. So he's playing in his evening, which happens to be Mr. Yellow's early afternoon. So they'll definitely play game one at this time. Cryptofist is known, especially against people he considers to be good players. If he loses the first game by a decent amount, he pretty much tends to just concede the match. Realizing that when you've got two good players playing, it's harder to overcome a larger deficit. He's a good player himself, though, so you'd think that if he just lost a game by 20 or 25, he certainly would be more capable of winning a game by 20 or 25. But I guess the decks he tends to play more often, things like Diplo and Old Allies and uh, Imperial Entanglements and things like that, are they're horizontal decks. They put a lot of cards on the table, so them usually winning by higher differential totals isn't always the case. So we'll see. He's kind of already hinted at that. Like if we play game two, it will be Tuesday at 3 o'clock. Um, and then later that night, later Monday, we've also got Spidey Guy taking on Silver Glen. It's another East Coast American versus European player. He's in the UK. But I do know that Spidey, I think he said he's on vacation. He's going to be in Las Vegas. So he's actually even earlier in the day, I think, then. So they're at least going to try and get that first game done and out of the way. So that's what we've got coming up for you on deck this week. There's also 4 other matches that have not been scheduled yet. And as those get scheduled, they'll all get updated here with the times. And then we'll be coordinating amongst a couple of guys who will be doing the streamings to try and make sure that we have live coverage. Tom Kelly did tell me he's going to try and he wants to stream his own games. I know he normally does that with his OCS matchups and things like that. And I guess he's just going to continue that trend. It's a brave statement. It's certainly a very trusting one that you're not going to believe that your opponent or anyone related to your opponent would be watching the stream and would be passing along any outside information. He's following he's putting trust in the honor code that if his opponent wants to cheat that bad to win the event, well, more power to him. So we'll give Tom kudos for putting faith in people and having trust that none of that shenanigans will happen. And I'm sure when they get their matches scheduled, we'll see those here. In terms of in real life events, the Endor Grand Prix has been scheduled. That's in early January of 2019. Pre-registration's going on for that. That'll be in Seattle. No new updates from design or development about any type of like Shadows of the Empire, Black Sun, errata just yet. I know they're taking their time and working that out because they really want to make sure they get it right. And there's a lot of moving parts with that because there's like 7 cards that all intertwine with that type of deck. So they want to make sure that they tone down the right ones, the right measure to make sure that that's going on. But we are going to look at a game review here. This game was submitted a little while back. Um, from friend of the show, Marines 28, he's taking on Gavino 1983. Gavino is a frequent GEMP player who's in pretty much was in a lot of the OCS events and is pretty much always on in the open leagues and has been playing on GEMP for a very long time and occasionally shows up to some in real life tournaments in the Midwest, Illinois, Indiana, that area of the country. So let's go ahead and jump in here. We've got Watch Your Step being played by Marines 28 versus Darkside Senate. Not a deck we often get to feature, so that's kind of why I wanted to make sure we got this one in. He's doing 12 card Senate, and he started the Mall's Landing Site, which is always a good one. And he'll be playing against a Watch Your Step deck that's running Like My Father, I Must Be Allowed to Speak, and Squadron Assignments. We did see that he does have evac control in his deck as one of his starting options. He's certainly going to want to get that out as quickly as possible. Uh, Interaction already right off the bat. Gavino's first action is to pull Oppressive Enforcement, and Marines plays We Got a Grand Army, looking for the Boss Nash Chamber, and it immediately gets grabbed with a copy of There'll Be Hell to Pay. This is the old school A New Hope grabber. Was the feature card in many decks up until defensive shields basically, um, especially in the Premier Death Star 2 format, or even earlier, definitely in earlier events. Premier through Death Star 2 is kind of where it started to, it rotated in and out a little bit more frequently, but grabbers are always a good call. And with Oppressive Enforcement, your immediate effects may play for free. So that lets you play. This normally costs 3 force, but instead it's free. So he's going to grab that Wisa, take that card away pretty quickly. And then he's going to squabble. He grabs Toonbuck. Toonbuck is the senator who adds to attrition, total attrition in battle for each character with an ambition agenda at Galactic Senate. So it's only once per turn, but it is universal. So it's any battle anywhere. It can just be like, I'm going to add 3 to attrition this battle. And that can often certainly cracks immunity to attrition of people like Luke Skywalker, Jedi Knight, or cards like Home 1. That 3 can be the difference there. But more often than not, it pushes the light side attrition total above one character's forfeit. Light side has a lot of guys who are like 4/7. Cards like Rey and Padme and things like that. And when you draw a 5 or a 6 and then add 3 to attrition, suddenly now it's an 8. There's not a lot of guys who forfeit for 8, which means they're losing 2 characters per battle, and that can certainly start to turn things pretty quickly. He's also going to get out Lot Dodd. Lot Dodd is a great senator. This is the guy that lets you go through your force pile and pick whatever card you want, which is pretty awesome. And then you've got Yeb Yeb, who you can peek at the top card of opponent's reserve deck, and you can either put it back, or you can lose a force and make that card lost. So that's once during your turn. So you look at their top card of their deck, and if you don't like it, it's a high destiny, you're going to battle or something like that, you're just like, no, make that card lost. If it's a key interrupt or a key character, Luke's lightsaber or something, like, get that card out of here. So it can really get annoying pretty quickly, because it's certainly not anything that you have control over. They're just top decking some of your important cards for you, especially when you're trying to lose cards from hand to keep your good stuff where you need it in your reserve deck, and then they just start peeling it for you. It can get annoying pretty quickly. Light side gets 7. They've already got Kessel in hand. Should have a farm floating around. He's going to go look for it. Hey, it's in there. Now he's going to figure out where to put it. Seems like a good place. And he puts Kessel out right away, which is interesting. His opponent's now up to 14 force, because it looks like he's already got his hover cam out as well. Yep. So he's going to go dash Outrider to Kessel. Try and put pressure on his opponent. But as we were saying earlier, the most basic starship can come down here, and its ambition agenda. So you've got Lot and Toonbuck have a ambition, so that's 2. So you can basically add 2 to attrition. And Dash is only immune to less than 4, so Dash may not stick around too long. If Darkseid has any type of ship here, even if it's something just like Zuckuss, where you're getting outpowered and you might lose a couple cards, but you can clear Dash pretty quick. That is a trade that I think a lot of people would take. Watch Your Steps really only running like 3 ships these days: Outrider, Pulsar, Skate, Falcon. And if you can take, one of the combos off the board pretty quickly, he just added 2 more Senators. So we just added Ornta Free, who basically you can take your Just Drawn Battle Destiny into hand. So it's kind of like Mon Mothma does for light side. And we've got Edsel. Opponent may not draw more than 1 Battle Destiny at battleground sites, but you can't cancel it. So they're limited to 1 on the ground. So against Watch Your Step, this guy's pretty good because typically they get 2 smugglers together and draw 2 Battle Destiny. So now they'll be limited to 1. He's also an ambition agenda, so now we've got 3 guys with ambition agendas. So now he's adding +3 to attrition, and like we said, forfeits for 5. If he draws, I don't know, a 3 or a 4, he can now add, even if he draws a 3, worst case scenario, he draws a 3, doesn't crack the immunity to the Outrider, doesn't make him have to forfeit anything. He kicked this in, he can add 3 to the attrition, which makes it 6, which means he loses Dash and the ship. So that's how that can really start to snowball and add up. And then Gabino's just going to draw some cards, probably get some more characters and ships into hand. He's got his Senate pretty well set up, and he can get any card he wants out of his force pile every turn, so I guess he was looking for something. He's going to throw away his Sonic. Doesn't need the Sonic anymore, and his opponent loses Mirax. So, like I said, key characters that Yeb can make lost, and he, let's do this. And he went ahead and got rid of Mirax, so that's 1 less ship pilot combo that he's got to work with. He does get drained for 3 at Kessel, though, so he didn't have a control. He's not. Looks like he's not playing political effects. It would have been suspended anyway. So he's going to combat, or sorry. So he's going to squadron assignments Chewie. Use Chewie to get the Falcon. Chewie deploys -1. Chewie deploys -1 aboard the Falcon. So that cost him 7. He went to the docking bay. His opponent doesn't have any force saved, so that's not a terribly risky move. You don't have to be afraid of anything like a barrier or anything like that. So he's going to go to the docking bay because then he can get the use pile search with I must be allowed to speak. He also occupies 2 battlegrounds, and then he'll flip. And then we'll see if he could possibly get a second pilot or someone to put in this and then take off to the Tatooine system. He may get a second guy and deploy him outside, and then have Chewie get out, and then just stay, and then he's got extra forfeit from the Falcon. He takes the Admiral's order, okay. And he'll deploy the Admiral's order. So the Admiral's order adds 2 to the immunity of your starships, so that could come into play. If Darkseid draws low, even with being able to add 3. Now, like, the Outrider's immune to less than 6. The Falcon's immune to less than 7. And he got evac control as well. Evac control prevents Battle Destiny draws from being modified. So the Senate objective, which makes all the Senators, Destiny +2 for Battle or Weapon Destiny, +3 if they have an ambition agenda. Now they would just be their printed values, which for the most of them are 3s. So now you've got 3 + 3 is 6. That still cracks Outrider's immunity, immune to less than 6. Wouldn't get the Falcons, though. But Chewie doesn't get a Destiny there, so that is a little loose. and he could find himself in a little bit of trouble there. Cavino gets an extra grabber. Dooku to the cantina. We see Luke and his lightsaber stacked over here. So these guys, Dooku's certainly in a little bit less trouble. While he may have a 4-card hand, it's possible he may have Luke. Um, to run 2 lightsabers isn't as common in Watch Your Step. And the fact that he's also activating 14, that's about just less than half his deck. It's a pretty good chance that he's going to activate. And then he wouldn't have the lightsaber. There's a good, basically like a 50-50 shot that the lightsaber would be activated. So he's going to pay to drain again at Kessel, keep that pressure on, which makes sense. It's his biggest source of damage, so that's kind of what he's got to do there. Be interesting to see if he puts Obi out and then possibly lands the Falcon, or whether he's just going to keep rolling the dice that his Falcon is okay. Oh, he moves the Falcon over to Kessel to consolidate with the other ships. Okay. But now he needs to find some type of defensive cards. He gets Old Ben. He's got the Blastadora Kid, which technically would work, at interior sites. Docking Bay is interior. It's also exterior, but it's interior. So when EPP Maul shows up, he can blaster deflection it and then move away. Dooku's going to pay to drain after he takes a card with Lot Dod. You're always going to get that card with Lot Dod first before you pay for anything. Give yourself the best option of finding the right stuff. Milas and Pulsar Skate go off the top. Black 6. Black 6. Also a card we don't get to see very often. It's Destiny 6. And it was created by Jan Westergaard, who did all of the world streaming with Queso. Tambris piloting, power +1, so it's matching ship for Tambris, a guy I usually don't see played very often. Once per game, may retrieve bottom card of Lost Pile. So it gets you back the first card you lost. Usually it's your starting interrupt, but if you're playing 12 card, it's something different. And in this case, it was Sonic Bombardment. Don't know if that's going to help him much, but it's a retrieval. But if you did top deck a key card turn 1, that would be a good way, or turn 2 or something like that, would be a good way to get it back. Total battle destiny here is +X, where X equals this tie's power -5. So if you got a really good pilot and like an all wings or all powered weapons, you certainly could add to your total battle destiny. And it's total, not individual draw, so it gets around things like evac control. And now he's going to play Squabble. There's no aim high out, so that's going to be free. So now he's basically just retrieved his entire lost pile. Gets back a Masterful Move, gets back 2 copies of Sense, Surface Defense, and a Point Man. So he's got 6-3-3-5-5 all set up nicely. About 10 cards. Oh, and another 5 because Swalwell goes used. About 10 cards down. So 10 cards down, he's got a pile of 5s, a couple of 3s, and then a 6. So something like that would be very good to know if, say, Darth Maul with lightsaber were going to come down and swing at people. And he's like, I'll swing at Obi and draw 5-5, and then I'll swing at Little Smuggler Guy and draw 3-3, and then I'll draw my 6 for Battle Destiny. Knowing where that stuff is could be pretty important. And, like we said earlier, Watch Your Step only plays a couple of ships. Pulsar Skate's in the Lost Pile. The other 2 are already on the table, so, Dr. E in combo, he draws by himself, if unable to otherwise, so he will get a Battle Destiny here. but it's pretty unlikely that he's going to run into a situation where he's going to get battled. Malos goes to the Outrider. Lando goes to the Falcon. We're going to see one of those ships move back. Right now, Malos is a passenger. Hopefully he remembers to switch his pilots. He moved both ships over. I don't agree with that. Um, you just gave up your biggest drain. Your drain of 3 here. I would not have moved a second ship over. I'd have left one of my ships behind. That's the whole point of deploying your guys the way they were. I'm sure he's fearful of Zuckuss because Falcon only has 5 ability on it, but you know, they both forfeit for 8. You're immune to less than 7. You gotta take a chance somewhere because right now you're just you need to be able to find a way to do damage. Emperor's shuttle's gonna come out. He does get the force drain for 1 at the Senate because he's got 2 battlegrounds occupied now. So this is a drain of 1. We get Emperor and the shuttle with Tarkin. So that's 3 battle destiny, although he can evac to prevent that. And then I'm sure you'll see, oh, Black 6 doesn't have a hyperdrive, so it can't move. But it can land. And he chose not to move it, not to land it. Okay. I guess he's got a Gick. He's just going to try and take some stuff down with him between draw and battle destiny and adding 3 to the total. I guess he's just going to hope to clear a guy or 2. He takes Run, Luke, Run. He's got a copy of Young Skywalker in his hand. He may be trying to set up Celebration. Puts Young Skywalker out, gets a card from the used pile. I'd probably grab either the barrier or the blaster deflection, but he grabs perimeter scan. Now he's got 2 battlegrounds, so now we can set up Celebration. No lightsaber in the reserve deck. Pod Racer collision. If you just verified your opponent's deck, put 1 interrupt there out of play is what that does. It's also, because it's a card with Pod Racer in game text, it's pulled by we must accelerate our plans. It's a fun little card. I enjoy using it from time to time. Haven't played it much recently though. Just not enough room in dark side decks these days. He does perimeter scan. Oh, he perimeter scans so he can actually put his grabber out because he played all these other shields. Don't do that again. And Goldenrod right off the bat. So he's going to battle Dooku. He's going to run Luke, run to bring Luke over. See if that gets canceled. It is a react, so you can Gick combo that. I'll pick up a card here. I'll pick up the lightsaber. Or he'll pick up a rebel barrier instead of a lightsaber. Because what do I know? He masterful moves to grab the Gick from reserve deck. He grabs the masterful move to stop him from doing that. We're putting a 6 back. Also just shuffled his deck, so now he doesn't know where any of that other stuff is. So we're just going to go to Battle Destiny draws. Light side draws a 6, a Jedi Luke, so that's very good for them. Dark side draws a 5. I don't think you'll see them add. Yeah, they probably have to add because Luke is immune to less than 6, and Obi is not. Obi's only immune to less than 5. So you'd have presumed he was going to lose Obi anyway. So I don't know that I would have used Toonbuck there because it doesn't really change much. They both forfeit for 9. So, and Toonbuck here is once per turn. So this battle that's upcoming here in space, it looks like he owes him just 1 force there because Darkseid drew pretty well as well, and Dooku covers quite a bit of forfeit, so he just loses 1 card. He top decks and it was the sight, so that's lucky because he wouldn't have drawn that in Battle Destiny. He's definitely going to need the Gick for this battle here. It's 14-0. Now he takes the lightsaber. Okay. So now we're looking at 17-0, and we'll see what. See, they draw another 5. See, now would be a good situation to have Toonbuck available to add 3 to make that an 8 in terms of attrition, because 5 doesn't crack the immunity of either of these ships. They're immune. Light side loses nothing. Dark side peels everything, and Gix, if you make that an 8, then they have to forfeit something, and half their characters won't cover 8. Most of these guys are like 6 or 7, so it would have to be somebody off this ship. It would have to be either Lando or Chewie. Oh, Legendary Starfighter. That's going to start causing some force loss, and because it's on the Falcon, that's going to cause 2 loss a turn during their move phase. Light side was a very productive turn for them, and they definitely Marines got himself in a good spot. He ends up in the same position, with taking the 2 cards off evac. He got the barrier, he got the lightsaber. He just did them in a different order than I would have, but that's fine. And here comes Maul, which is why you wanted the barrier for Mr. Maul there. He does have the blast door controls to back it up, though, so that's pretty critical. And there's still 1 card left on evac, so I have you now. It's not going to be much help. And a second copy of Dr. E comes down. Wouldn't surprise me to see Lightside just move away. They're retrieving 1 with Celebration. They can drain for 1 in space. You'll probably see the Outrider go back to Kessel, start trying to outpower this thing and take it down. And then just try and just dink and dunk and retrieve a little bit here and there. But celebrates, and he gets Wedge back. Gets a drain of 1 at the system. Luke gets a lightsaber. If he had something like a sorry about the mess or whatnot, you could make more of an argument that it might be worth, taking a shot at battling here. Or if he had a, like 2 smugglers or something like that, then you could play the Blast the Door Kid to exclude Maul and the Jedi, and then the other 2 guys beat up on Dr. E. But with none of that going on, just move away. Just move away. He might find another copy of like Control Tunnel Vision or something. He's going to get a few more cards in his hand now. But he's starting to run a little low on life, just because he's got a number of stuff on the table. So they're both down to about 15 cards here. It starts to make Yub Yub a little harder to use when you're running a little lower on life force. Just checks his destinies. They're okay. Not great, though. We'll See if he's got something like an Ellis up his sleeve, though. But right now, he's just going to drain for 1, 1, and 2. Be curious to see. I don't think he's lost and it's a hit or anything yet. And he doesn't have another control tunnel vision in his lost pile or anything yet, so he can't use his objective to cancel that. So he's just going to have to peel 2. And here comes Kylo. And a first strike. That's always a card that swings some games. He has 5 force saved, so he's got plenty of force available. We'll probably see him play the Blastadora Kid to get out of this battle. He could just take a chance and just dodge the subtract from the swings. That would make Kylo miss. More likely than not, make Kylo miss. Darkseid would then lose a force for missing, and then Lightside could try and, hit Kylo and cause some overflow. Probably conceding the fact that they're going to lose Obi in the process. But he's going to go for the Blast the Door Kid option instead. That just excludes everybody and ends the battle. It's the safer play. But we just verified his destinies, so we know that's not great. Even if he draws the 5 for Battle Destiny, you lose Obi. Now we'll see Dr. E slide over. And Maul will probably stay behind. Well, I guess Maul's going to come too. See if Kylo then moves back to the Cantina, or if he leaves both guys together. Oh. Now he's going to lose 2 from Legendary Starfighter. Legendary Starfighter is certainly going to be something that keeps this game a lot closer. Certainly means that Marines doesn't have to force the issue in terms of pressuring damage and things like that, because he's got that 2 damage coming every turn. As long as the Falcon stays alive, which doesn't even have to be piloted, by the way. Spoiler alert. So if the Falcon, if he battles the Falcon, just pitch the pilots off it and just leave the ship sitting there empty and then move away from it. So that way the ship can't be battled. Lando and Chewie cover 16 and forfeit, so you can just pop them off it, worst case scenario. And then just leave an empty Falcon. Like move it in front of Kessel or something like that, He's going to move away. His opponent's going to squabble. His entire reserve deck is nothing but red at this point. Excuse me. We'll probably see Obi go the other way. I think Obi will probably move to the Cantina. Spread out. Trying to maximize his damage. Try and split the dark side forces up. He's got the Hujix in hand, so he's not too concerned. I'll move the Outrider back. Okay. As long as he leaves 1 or 2 force. Put a card back with Luke. Puts back the character. Moving to attack position is a huge card for him to pick up right there, because if he does end up, he had one in his lost pile already that he could have played, but it gets more expensive, obviously. And the Watcher Step Shield is out with first strike. It's cumulative use of force that really starts to add up. It's just going to be 1 and 1 this turn in terms of force drains. So keeping a tight game pretty close. Darkside's got 20 left, 9. Lightside's got 13, so Lightside's behind, but it is Watcher Step, so of course they do have the ability to play things out of their lost pile from time to time, like they just did right here with this Rebel Barrier, but that's going to be an expensive barrier because it's already been grabbed. So that cost them 3 force for that barrier. We'll see if it gets canceled or not. It does not. Now, I'm going to pause this for a second because some of you might be wondering why it's on the Allegation Shield and not the Useless Gesture Shield, because he used the objective, so it should be stacked here because of this little word here, if possible. It can't be stacked there because it's already grabbed by this card, so it has to go here, and then you follow the text and pay the appropriate costs for that. This shield, because the card's already been grabbed, doesn't really come into play. Just a fun little side lesson for you. I definitely need more game links too. So if you guys are watching this, please PM me with some game links. I know there's been a lot of Black Sun played lately, and I'm sure we're all sick and tired of seeing it. So if you have anything you've played with or against that does not involve Black Sun, um, or Throne Room, dear God, no more Throne Room. I think after Worlds, we're all sick and tired of the two of those decks. So, and there's the moving to attack position that we were talking about, which he was very lucky to pick up because that kept Talon-Card from getting killed, let him play the barrier, so then he doesn't have to play the moving to attack position from his hand, from Lost Pile rather. So he's going to reduce his power to 0, and then he's going to pick up that last card and limit light side each player to just one battle destiny. So it's 11 to 0, and there's no modifications coming to these draws, so they'll just be their raw value, which is going to force dark side to have to lose some stuff. It draws 5. Now they can add to the total attrition with Toonbuck, which they should. Normally you'd say they should do, but because of the moving to attack position, they are completely immune, so it doesn't really matter. And light side draws a wedge for Battle Destiny. He's going to drive a wedge between the Emperor and Tarkin here, because they're down by 10. Now, of course, Darkside's also completely immune to attrition because of Emperor and the shuttle, but that's a lot of overflow to take, so they're just going to peel a card and lose the Emperor, and then they're going to look and they're going to see a 6 in their reserve deck. Like, why couldn't I draw on that? I wouldn't have had to peel any cards. But, and now we'll do the shuffle of characters around. But the important thing for light side is that they're going to get to retrieve 2 from Celebration this turn. Darkside's going to continue to eat this 2 force damage from Legendary Starfighter, and Mr. Tarkin aboard Emperor Shuttle here is kind of up the creek without a paddle. But, and there's no secret plan shield out for Darkseid, so this retrieval is all going to be free. So he can activate a little bit more here, which he definitely should. The only place he should be battling is in space. He's going to retrieve 2, get back in all wings in the moving to attack position. He'll get a drain of 1 at Tatooine. He's going to battle up here at Out's Barrier as the 1 card in his hand. Interesting. The card he picked out, but no force save, so doesn't matter. He's definitely going to battle here, which is going to give you a force retrieval from first strike. And it's going to be 2 destiny to 1. Now we are going to see light side's probably going to end up having to lose at least 1 pilot. That should be, if that's still the 6 on top, that's 9. That's going to be actually going to get rid of 2 guys. Oof. He draws a Walkling. And a 5. So he gets 7, so he gets to 16. Tarkin and the shuttle forfeit for 11. So they're going to cover everything when they draw the 6. If this is a small ship still. Yeah. 16 to 6. Okay, so it's not that bad for Darkseid. Tarkin and the shuttle go away. And by adding 3, this is what we talked about at the beginning of the game, light side now has to lose 2 characters. So we'll go ahead and see that. They'll keep Dash. They'll get rid of Elors and Melas. Tarkin and the shuttle will go. So that's probably it at this point for Dark Side Space. I mean, obviously, yes, he's got the Mulsif Infiltrator, but who's he got left to pilot it is really what you have to be asking yourself. The only character we really haven't seen is Vader. Um, and with 10 force left and 4 in hand, there's not a whole lot going on that we would be too concerned about. Okay. So what he did right here is he reused his Run Luke Run from earlier. He battles with Talon Card. He Run Luke runs to move Luke over. He doesn't. He gets a Battle Destiny for doing that, but he doesn't have enough weapon, lightsaber Destiny left to swing the lightsaber at P59. If he did, that would pretty much be game over at this point, I would think, especially because he just threw away the Gick. Because then he'd hit him, he'd be forfeit 0, he'd be down by 9. So he's down 5 plus the 1. Yeah, he'd be down 5 and then a Destiny draw on top of it. So he'd probably peel P59 and a few cards when he doesn't have very many left. It's still going to work out pretty well for him, and obviously he'll have Luke left at that location, or at least he should have Luke left at that location, threatening a pretty big drain. He's got the 2 battlegrounds in space to get around Coward, which isn't even on the table, and he'll use the dodge to subtract 3 to make sure Talon Card doesn't get hit to save himself 2 force loss. So he's losing 1 preemptively to prevent him losing 2 later. It's a good trade. It's a good trade. 2 for 1. Or 1 for 2, rather. It's just Les Lomi. Just a lowly old 4. $14-7 though. Talon Card will die. P59 will die, and Darkside will take 3 overflow. And then Obi will move away to the docking bay. That's what we should see here. Darkside peeled, Squabble. There'll be Hell to Pay and a Pod Racer collision. So they're down to 8 in life force and 2 in hand. Lightside, through several retrieval that turn, is actually turned the corner, and they're actually now ahead in life force after trailing for several turns. And there's not a whole lot left that Darkside can do. They're paying to drain because their ships have been cleared. With battle order out, they're getting pinged for 2 with this legendary starfighter, which is pretty much going to be what ends the game. So I think not landing Black 6 at the docking bay and letting it get beat up by the Falcon and the other ships is certainly going to be the deciding factor, I think, in this game, because I think he's probably lost at least 6 force to Legendary Starfighter so far, and he's probably going to peel 2 or 3 more. It's probably going to take him 2 more turns or so to bleed out. So it'll probably be close to 10 cards by the end of this game that he's lost from Legendary Starfighter. And considering they're both down to less than 10 cards, I'd consider that to be the difference maker. Kylo's got to move in front of Obi. He's going to have to peel 2 from his used pile. I was going to go ahead and concede. Because, yeah, he'd peel 2 from the used pile. He'd move Maul over and then basically say go. And then looking at what Lightside would do, he'd have 6, 7, 8 cards left total. Lightside would drain 3 and 1. That's 4, leaving him with 4 left. And then they'd initiate battles. First strike, taking him down to 2. which means after that he wouldn't be able to pay to drain. Doesn't even matter what happens to these guys on the ground because then Legendary just finishes them off in his move phase. So that's going to go ahead and be the end of the game there. Thanks to Marines for submitting the game link. Certainly an interesting game, and we always get to love to see different decks showcased every once in a while. Um, Dark Senate is always a good one. We don't get to see too often, especially get to see all the interactions of the different senators. I know we just saw during the World stream, during one of the day 2 games, there was a Dark Side Senate deck played, and I know one of our recent games we did on this cast, we did a Light Side Senate, so that was nice to see. Different objectives and things getting played once in a while. So if you're out there and you've got other decks, not Throne Room, not Black Sun, please submit the game links to me so we can keep the show moving along. This was episode 31. Wow, 31 episodes. Still baffles me every time I say that out loud. It's just like about 32, 33. It's like, we're going to keep going. And of course, we're going to keep streaming all the OCS matches. So be sure and check the schedule to see when the next game's coming up. And we'll try and put stuff, Facebook announcements and things like that as well, to let everybody know when the next stream is going to be. But let me know what you guys want to see too. If there's matchups you're looking for, hopefully send me emails about that, and we'll reach out to people and see if we can find some game links or play them yourself. Play a game like, I'm not sure what map looks like these days. Well, play a game with map, and then we'll review it, and we can talk about, what cards should be in there, shouldn't be in there, what things are different now that, post worlds and things like that, and how things have looked. So that's going to do it for this evening. Thank you guys for tuning in, and you were really quiet in the Twitch chat tonight. But it looks like there were 7 or 8 of you popping in and out. So hopefully you guys enjoyed watching this. And have a great night. And we'll see you next week. But of course, we'll see you before then with the OCS playoff games coming up later this week on Thursday. So take care.